Hi, Teacher Sam here. Welcome to Thornhill English Academy. Today we're going to be talking about speaking for the IELTS exam. We're going to look at the band descriptors. That means what the examiner will use to give you your score in the exam. As you probably know, there are 4 band descriptors or 4 criteria. You'll be evaluated on fluency and coherence, lexical resource, grammatical range and accuracy, and pronunciation. Today we're just going to have a look at fluency and coherence. What do they mean? Well, fluency is about the flow of your speech. How quickly or slowly the words come out of your mouth. Coherence is about making sense, first of all. That means that your answers actually match the question the examiner asked and the examiner doesn't think you're crazy. For example, if the examiner asks you, "And do you work or are you a student, Jack?"
Pizza. Dog pizza.
I see. This is an example of an incoherent answer. Also, the way you organize your ideas and the way you connect the different ideas together. All of this is coherence. Once again, fluency and coherence, that will be about the flow of your speech, the organization of your ideas, the content of your ideas, and how they're linked together. As you know, in the IELTS exam, you'll be graded from band 1 to band 9. Today we're only going to look at band 4 to band 7. Let's start with band 4. What are the features of a band 4 speaker? Let's have a look. So we see, first of all, cannot respond without noticeable pauses and may speak slowly with frequent repetition and self-correction. So this means the flow isn't really okay. The flow is interrupted, the flow of speech. So first of all, pauses in the speech. How often do you watch movies in English?
I watch movies every day.
Or it could also mean speaking really slowly. Do you enjoy writing, Jack?
Yes, I enjoy writing in my diary.
Obviously, we want to avoid both of those. Using too many fillers, like like. Sorry, how often do you watch movies, Jack?
I watch movies every day.
This is also considered not very good, and this is going to get you around to band 4. Repetition, as you can imagine, this is a bit like a record that's stuck. What foods do you enjoy eating, Jack?
I like to eat pizza. Yes, pizza. I like to eat pizza.
As you can see, not only does it make you seem crazy, but also lower your score. Self-correction. Now, self-correction isn't bad. What did you do last weekend, Jack?
Next weekend I go. Last weekend I went to the supermarket with my friends.
Okay, so this isn't bad, but if you do it too much, it interrupts your flow. So if you're stopping every seconds to 2 or 4, correct what you're saying, as you can see, not very good either. There may also be some breakdowns in communication. This is mentioned in the second part. A breakdown, as you imagine, is when everything just grinds completely to a halt and there is a total stop. Will you try any new hobbies in the future, Jack?
Yes, I think, I don't know.
This can happen sometimes in the exam, usually because of panic or because we didn't understand the question the examiner asked. Remember, you can ask for the examiner to repeat or clarify the question. We said coherence is also about linking and organizing. So for a band 4, this may show that you really aren't using enough connective words, maybe 1 or 2, but mostly you're just using your sentences. I like football. I play football on Saturday. Saturday is at the weekend. There's nothing to connect or link the ideas together. Do you play any sports, Jacques?
Well, I usually play on the weekends, but sometimes I also play on weekdays.
This is an example of using some connectives there. Let's go above that and have a look at the band 5. So for a band 5, we can consider that the flow is a lot better. Usually maintains flow of speech, but uses repetition, self-correction, and hesitation. This means that the flow does continue, there's no breakdown, but relying heavily on what we talked about earlier, repeating yourself, speaking slowly. Right now I want to say something about speaking slowly. You shouldn't try to speak too fast. One of the big mistakes that people make is trying to speak too quickly. If you speak too quickly, you're going to affect your pronunciation. Your brain needs some time to catch up. So it doesn't mean that you need to really go too fast.
Yes, I usually enjoy writing in my diary, and sometimes I like to write emails in my school also, and I write essays for my teacher at school.
Also, pausing is okay sometimes. We need to breathe, obviously, otherwise we'll die. And we need to pause sometime to give our brain a little chance to catch up. Native speakers do this naturally. The idea is that we need to pause in the right place.
I sometimes play on the weekend, but usually it's on the weekdays if I have free time. I play with my friends.
For the band 5, the answers may also be a little bit too short. Short answers are great for part 1. You shouldn't really have very long answers for part 1. But when it gets to part 2 and part 3, the examiner is going to expect longer answers, going to expect you to add a lot of information. You should always try to develop your answers a little bit. If the question is, do you think that people watch too much television, Jack?
Yes. Yes.
And you just stop there, that's not enough. The examiner's looking for you to add more.
Yes, I believe that nowadays people certainly watch a lot of television. However, people also spend a lot of time on the internet.
I didn't say anything very complicated there, but I linked my ideas together. That's really important. As I said, even when you get to part 3, the examiner is expecting a conversation, to not have to keep asking you questions all the time, to have you sort of respond. Otherwise, it's going to keep you at band 5. How do we get above that? How do we get to the band 6? Let's have a look at that right now. The 6 shows a lot more confidence. This is really the key part of the band 6. That means that there's no moment of panic where you just kind of stop speaking completely, or you totally have a breakdown. You're willing to speak at length, although may occasionally lose coherence or lose your flow, particularly if you're asked a difficult question or you're talking about something a bit more complicated. The band 6 candidate might also use fillers in a good way, like I said, pausing quite naturally. So when the examiner asks a question, you might say something like, "That's an interesting question," or "Give me a moment to think about that," before you give your answer.
That's an interesting question. I believe that people do spend a lot of time watching television, but also the internet now takes up, quite a lot of people's time.
This is good. The difference between the 6 and the 7 is that the band 6 may have a more limited use of connectives, maybe using the same ones quite often, and also the ideas will not be as fully developed. Some of part 3, for example, might get a bit stuck in part 3. How do we get to the 7? Well, this shows a really good level of fluency with pretty much no hesitation. Sometimes you're going to have to look for a word a difficult piece of vocabulary. Sometimes you're going to get stuck on an idea, and you may stop and correct yourself once or twice. Do people watch too much television nowadays?
Yes, I think people nowadays don't interact with each other enough. And I think they should spend more time outside of the home.
The range of connectives and discourse markers will be a lot greater here, although the examiner as a native speaker might find some things a little bit strange, but generally you can really link all of your ideas together, organize them clearly, and your answers really make sense, match the question. Hopefully you'll see the examiner look interested and say, that's a good point. This is good. Also, you can see with a band 7, they may make pretty clever choices about what they speak about. You know, knowing when to kind of stop speaking before things get too complicated, before you get too stuck. This is a key feature of the band 7 too. Do you think people watch too much television, Jack?
That's a really interesting question. I think that nowadays people spend most of their time on the internet, but it's the same problem, you know. People are at home and they're not outside enjoying life. I think this is a bit of a problem, don't you?
Welcome to Thornhill English Academy online learning portal. With Thornhill English Academy, you'll get face-to-face video contact with your native English speaker teacher through a whole lesson. All of our native English speaker teachers have master's degrees from Western universities, and you'll be studying with them in small groups, so you get a lot of face time with your teacher. All of our courses are conducted with a trained IELTS examiner, and our video and audio quality are exceptional. We give regular IELTS tests with full feedback from examiners, and we provide proven strategies for success in every part of the exam. Our local staff at Thornhill speak your language and will answer any problems or questions via phone or email. They'll give you free training on how to use our software. Head to our website www.thornhillenglish.com to check out our amazing prices. We also offer conversation, listening and speaking classes for all levels of learners. Or click the screen for some more IELTS tips videos. See you soon at Thornhill.